Ch.
Hello, boys and girls. First thing I would like to do is introduce myself. The kids call me Miss Polly. I work at a local school and I work in the library. And after I'd been home several weeks, I kept thinking, what can I do to help? And after giving it a lot of thought, the thing I like to do the most is read to children. And I know we're all trying to keep reading logs, and before long it's going to be time for the summer reading program at the big library downtown. And us reading for 20 minutes a day will give you extra time to put on your log. Or if you don't have any books at home, you can share my book and be able to put down reading time every day. I'm going to try to read Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday every week. I have 5 different books. They're all in a series. It's called the Poppy series, and it was written by Avi, who just happens to be one of my favorite children authors. Now, I don't know how you pick out your books when you go into the library, but I like to look at the front cover. If the front cover looks fun, then I like to pick the book up and I like to read what it says on the back of the book about the story. So it says this book is about a small mouse with big dreams. Ragweed leaves his family in a cozy country home for the big city. His adventures bring music, excitement, and new friends into his small town life. But a cunning group of carnivorous cats threatens to ruin all his fun. Well, I think it's time for us to clarify the word carnivorous. That means if the cats catch Ragweed, they're going to eat him. So it sounds like he could be in a lot of danger. With the help of a motley yet musical crew of city mice, Clutch, Dipstick, Lugnut, and Blinker, Ragweed prepares to battle his feline foes. So, after reading that, I think, wow, this sounds like a fun book, and yet kind of a dangerous, scary book. So, I'm going to begin today. We will try to read 2 chapters a day, and then we'll find out what happens to Ragweed in the big city. Don't know whether you can see this or not, but this is a picture of the big city that he is going to. Now, right now, he lives way out in the country. So this is going to be a big change for him. Chapter 1, Ragweed. Ma, a mouse has to do what he has to do. Ragweed, a golden mouse with dark orange fur, round ears, and a not very long tail, was saying goodbye to his mother and father, as well as to 50 of his brothers and sisters. They were all gathered by the family nest, which was situated just above the banks of the brook. It is something about us that makes you want to leave home? His mother, whose name was Clover, asked tearfully. She was small and round, with silky black eyes. "Aw, Mom, that's not fair," Ragweed replied, wishing he could leave without so much fuss. "I just want to see things. I'm almost 4 months old, you know. I mean, the brook is wonderful, but well, it's not the whole world." Ragweed's father, Valerian, drew himself up. He was long-faced and lanky, and his scruffy whiskers were touched with gray. "Now, son," he said, "no need to poke at us stay-at-home folks." "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to joke. All I'm doing is going off to explore what else there is, you know, before settling down. I won't be gone long." "Will you absolutely promise to come back?" Clover asked. Though Ragweed had carefully slicked down his fur so that it was quite neat and proper, she found a small strand around his ear that required careful adjusting. But then Ragweed was very special to her. "Of course I will," Ragweed assured her, trying to duck his mother's fussy fixing. And if you meet a young female mouse," Clover added gently, "one for whom you develop a fondness, just make sure she really cares for you." Ragweed blushed. "Hey, Mom, I'm too young for that stuff. Anyway, if I'm going to get someplace today, I better start moving." This notice of his intimate departure caused Clover to fling her paw around Ragweed's neck and give him a nuzzle about his right ear. "Please, please be cautious," she whispered. "Promise me that you will." So I think if she's giving him a nuzzle, that's probably about the same thing as your mom giving you a kiss goodbye. "I promise," Ragweed returned. A reluctant Clover released her son. Valerian held out his paw. "Ragweed," he said, "you're a clear-thinking, straight-talking, hard-working young mouse. I'm proud of you." Ragweed shook his father's paw. "Dad," he replied, "if I can be anything like you, that'll be good enough for me." "Thank you, son," Valerian said, his voice husky. Embarrassed by so much emotion, Ragweed looked sheepishly at his brothers and sisters. Of those still at home, he was the eldest. Even among the older ones who had returned from nearby homes to say goodbye, Ragweed was the first to leave the area of the brook. Hardly a wonder that they were gazing at him with affectionate awe. But it was to Rye, his younger brother by a few weeks, that Ragweed went. Rye looked very much like Ragweed, except for a notch in his right ear, the result of an accident. "Okay, Rye," Ragweed said, giving his brother a mock punch on the shoulder. "You're the big kid in the nest now. Make sure you take care of things. If you don't, hey, you're going to have to answer to me when I get back. Get it?" "I know," Rye replied, with a grin masking his annoyance that his older brother was telling him what to do. Next, Ragweed tipped a wink to his favorite younger sister. "Thistle, see you around, kiddo," he called. "Oh, Ragweed, I'm going to miss you so much," she cried. Rushing forward, she gave Ragweed a big nuzzle. Ragweed, determined to be light-hearted, stepped back, gave a carefree wave, and set off up the hill, striding boldly towards the ridge that overlooked the little valley. Halfway up, he came to a large boulder embedded in an outcropping of earth. There he paused and looked down at his family, who were still observing his departure. Though he wanted to move on, Ragweed found himself lingering. The spring air was brimming with a delicate sweetness. The vaulting blue sky seemed endless, the sun warm and embracing. Amid moss and grass, flowers had burst forth with youthful daring, in contrast to the shallow old brook, which wound lazily between low leafy banks, bearing pink and white water lilies on its wide surface. As for the tall trees that stood all around, they were veiled in a downy green mist of just born leaves. Okay, so let's stop and talk a minute. We know who our main character is, right? Everybody knows it's going to be, yeah, that's right, Ragweed. And now, who can tell me about the setting of the book? Right now, we're by the brook in the probably a forest, and we're headed to a new setting, which will be in the city. Who can tell me what time of the year it is? What did we just read that gives us clues on what our setting is, what time of the year? How about spring, just like now? I have flowers blooming in my front yard, and my trees in the backyard are starting to mist with just born leaves. So I would say it's spring. What lay below Ragweed was not merely beautiful, it was home, his home. And there was his family, whom he loved as much as he knew they loved him. Hope I'm doing what's right, he thought with a sigh. Then reminded himself out loud, a mouse has to do what a mouse has to do. He gave a final wave to his family and continued up the ridge. Ragweed had no notion where he was headed. He had consulted no one, planned little. I'll just go where whim takes me, he told Rye. As Ragweed went along, he now and again broke into snatches of an old song. His voice was good, if rather low for a mouse, and he enjoyed singing. The song he trilled was one he and his family had often sung on hikes and picnics. A mouse will go a-roving go, and wooded paths and pebbled ways, to places high and places low, where birds do sing 'neath sunny rays. For the world is full of mice, oh, the world is full of mice. Wow, that song carried him to the crest of yet another hill. There he paused again. The trail seemed to extend from his toes straight out to the horizon. Just to see it gave him the wonderful sensation that anything might happen. He took a deep breath. How delicious was the sense of freedom he felt. How fine that he and he alone was responsible for himself. He had not, until now, realized and grasped how exciting it would be and to grow up and strike out on one's own. The thought of it all brought a tingling from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail. Energized anew, Ragweed stepped boldly along the trail, now and again squeaking out at top voice. For the world is full of mice, oh. Are you laughing at my singing? Okay, now we're going to start chapter 2. And the title of chapter 2 is Some Advice is Given. I wonder who he's going to meet. Anybody got any ideas? All that morning, Ragweed continued until he reached a split in the pathway. One path went due east, the other headed south. For the first time since he'd left home, he had to make a decision as to which direction to go. Relishing the luxury of making up his mind at leisure, he decided to rest. Then, remembering that he had not eaten that day, he nosed about until he found enough hazelnuts to make himself a lunch. Hazelnuts were Ragweed's favorite food. As Ragweed nibbled away, an elderly vole meandered out from behind a bush. The vole had a short tail, large ears, reddish-brown fur on his back, and gray whiskers on his blunt snout. That means his nose is kind of pushed in and short. He was also nearsighted, snuffling so intently about the ground that he walked right into Ragweed. Oh my, the vole explained, fluttered and embarrassed. I do beg 1,000 pardons. I didn't see you, young fellow. Really, what's come over me? Walking into strangers, I fear my eyes are not what they used to be. Do forgive me. Here's a picture of Ragweed and the vole. It kind of looks to me like it's kind of like a mole. I don't know exactly. It's a little bit bigger than Ragweed. No harm done, sir, Ragweed returned cheerfully. I'm sprawled where I shouldn't be, an idle wanderer from the brook. I suppose you've heard of it. I'm afraid I haven't, the vole said apologetically. Ragweed, thrilled by the thought that he had already come far enough to be a stranger, said, That's even better. Then he asked, Are you from around here? Indeed I am, the vole returned. Maggie, get down. That's my dog saying hi, and she wants to get up on my lap. She doesn't know I'm busy right now. Let's see. Indeed I am, the vole returned. I've lived in these parts for more years than I'd like to admit. What brings you here, young fellow? I'm off to see the world. Off to see the world, eh? The vole echoed, yearning and regret mingling in his voice. Well, it's a mighty big place, this world. Have you seen it? Ragweed asked with keen interest. Just a tad, the vole said, making a humble gesture that managed to imply a very great deal more. Of course, that was when I was younger. Oh yes, the world is fascinating. Ragweed considered the vole with new eyes. Clearly, here was a creature of vast experience. Sir, the mouse inquired, might you know, then, where these two paths lead? I should hope I would, the vole returned with a touch of pride. In my time, young fellow, I've traveled both. They take you to completely opposite places. This one goes east to a forest, Dimwood Forest, to be precise. A most impressive place. Dark, strange, beautiful. Something you should experience. Just watch out for owls, he added. I'm sure I'd like it, Ragweed said, paying no heed to the warning. What about the other one? The one to the south. It goes to a railway. Ragweed blinked. What's a railway? Oh, forgive me, the vole said. I didn't mean to presume. A railway is made by humans. Do you know about humans? Oh, yes, Ragweed replied, though he had not, in fact, actually seen one. Well, now, humans make trains. A train sits on a track. That's to say, two rails allowing it to go places. The whole apparatus is absolutely gigantic, makes an astonished noise, goes at staggering speeds. But if I add that They're dangerous, and I'm putting it mildly. You said humans use these trains for going places? Ragweed said, fascinated. What kind of places? Towns, cities. I'm afraid I don't know what they are either, Ragweed confessed. Oh, my, we are young, aren't we? The vole said. Blushing, Ragweed said, I'm only 4 months old. Well, you'll get over that soon enough, the vole chuckled at his own little joke. Well, now, my young fellow, a town or a city is where great numbers of humans live. As you know, humans build the most amazing nest. Gigantic constructions. Reach the sky, they do. As for a town or a city, well, look at those trees over there. Now use your imagination. Instead of a tree, picture a human's nest. Multiply that one nest by 1,000, 2,000, no, 20,000, 1,000,000. There, you have a city. Oh, wow, Ragweed cried. But does anything happen there? Does anything happen? The vole echoed, paw over his heart. Young fellow, if you had a year to spare, I might begin to tell you stories about cities that would curl your tail. Why, everything happens in cities. Mind, it can be hazardous for creatures like you and me. But exciting? Exciting, the vole said, with a whisper and a wink. That's where they invented the word. That sounds like the perfect place for me, Ragweed said, jumping up. Thanks for your advice. I'm not aware I was giving any advice, the vole said wistfully. Actually, I think you should go to Dimwood Forest first. Why? It's safer. Next time, Ragweed shouted, already hurrying down the path that led to the railway. Oh dear, the vole said as he watched Ragweed scamper away. He had recollected something of great importance he should have told Ragweed. Young fellow, he cried out, if you reach the city, keep on the lookout for cats. Cities are full of them. Ragweed, however, was gone. The warning went unheard. All that afternoon, Ragweed hurried along the trail, reaching a deep gully just at dusk. Peering into it, he saw something he had never seen before. A railway train. At first, Ragweed could do nothing but stare at it. So astonishing was its size. Not only was it amazingly tall, he found it impossible to see either end. He did see wheels, enormous, shiny steel ones, but they were not turning. Yet Ragweed was quite certain the old vole had said the train went to cities, though he could not begin to imagine how it managed the trip. The part of the train that sat before Ragweed was a boxcar. Great Western Trail was written large on its dull red sides of corrugated steel. The name churned Ragweed, speaking to him of great adventure. Even better, the door was open. Full of the desire to explore, Ragweed scurried into the gully. Approaching the tracks, he found a low coupling hose hanging between two boxcars. He leaped on the coupling, climbed up it, then ran along a rain gutter on the side of the car. Within moments, he was inside. There's the train. Way down there is teeny tiny Ragweed. The boxcar appeared to be empty. Then Ragweed spied a split sack labeled oats in a corner. Though he did not exactly know what oats were, he knew good food when he smelled it. Besides, he was hungry. The day had been excitingly long. "This is the life," he murmured as he pushed his nose into the oats and began to munch. He was still gorging himself when the train made a sudden lurch. "Whew! Hey, what's happening?" Ragweed cried and rushed to the open door. To his amazement, the boxcar was moving. At first, it did not go very fast. Within moments, however, it was rattling along at speeds far greater than Ragweed could ever have imagined. With a sense of shock, Ragweed realized that his woodland home was very quickly fading away. His heart experienced a painful squeeze. Not only was he now truly going to see the world, there was no turning back. The young mouse, in a voice that managed to combine joy and sorrow, cried, "City, here I come." Okay, boys and girls, Ragweed's on his way. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think he's going to find any cats? Oh, I hope not, because what was that word we learned? They are carnivorous, which means they eat meat and would love to have a little mouse to eat. So try to make a prediction of what you think's going to happen when he gets to the city, and we'll read again tomorrow. Goodbye.